Imagine a life where your mind no longer sabotages your peace, where negativity loses its grip and your thoughts become your greatest allies. In Buddhism, the power to transform negative thinking is not just a philosophy. It's a revolutionary practice that can reshape your reality. With our thoughts, we make the world, says an ancient Buddhist teaching. What if the world you see, full of self-doubt, fear, and frustration, is just a reflection of an untamed mind? Every day, countless thoughts race through your mind, some lifting you up, but many pulling you down. Thoughts of failure, regret, resentment. They twist inside, creating storms that you can't seem to escape. Have you ever wondered if there's a way to break this cycle? A way to take control of the mind instead of being its prisoner? Today, we'll dive deep into the core of Buddhist wisdom, timeless principles used by monks to master their minds. You'll learn not just how to silence negativity, but how to transform it into clarity, compassion, and courage. And if you think this is just about thinking positive, prepare to be surprised. There's a powerful bonus lesson at the end that could change how you see yourself forever. If you take away just one thing from this video, let it be this: your mind is either your greatest weapon or your most relentless enemy. The choice is yours. Stay with me. This might be the most valuable insight you'll gain today. Number 1. Your thoughts as architects of reality. Every day, you wake up with a choice: to sculpt your reality with thoughts of peace, or let negativity chisel away at your inner serenity. In Buddhism, it is taught that your thoughts are not passive observers, they are architects of your reality. Like a sculptor shaping clay, every thought you entertain molds your experience. When you dwell on fear, self-doubt, or anger, you are carving a life of suffering. But when you choose thoughts of compassion, patience, and equanimity, you are chiseling a path of inner freedom. The mind, after all, does not simply mirror reality, it creates it. Imagine holding a lump of clay in your hands. At first, it is soft and malleable, representing your fresh, fleeting thoughts. But as you knead it over and over, repeating the same mental patterns, the clay begins to harden. This is how negative thinking works. The more you replay painful memories, dwell on self-criticism, or anticipate failure, the more these thoughts solidify into your reality. Eventually, the clay sets into a statue, rigid and unyielding, just like a hardened belief system. You are no longer simply thinking negatively, you are living it. Buddha once said, "The mind is everything. What you think, you become." If you constantly tell yourself, "I am not good enough," your actions will reflect insecurity. You will hesitate, shrink in fear, and settle for less. If you believe, "I always fail," you will unconsciously sabotage opportunities. Your mind is not only predicting the future, it is designing it. The tragedy? Most people are unaware of the power they are giving to their thoughts. They mistakenly believe that negative thinking is harmless, a fleeting worry or a passing self-criticism. But Buddhism teaches that your thoughts are seeds, and what you water will grow. You cannot expect a garden of peace if you only plant weeds of worry. So, how do you reshape your reality? The first step is awareness. You must become mindful of the mental sculptor at work. When a negative thought arises, do not fight it. Fighting it gives it power. Instead, observe it with detachment. Ask yourself, is this thought building the life I want? If the answer is no, you have the power to release it. With practice, you will recognize that most negative thoughts are mere illusions, distortions of reality born from fear, not truth. Secondly, practice deliberate sculpting. Each day, consciously shape your mind by focusing on empowering thoughts. When you catch yourself thinking, "I'm a failure," pause and reframe it. "I am learning through my challenges." When your mind says, "Nothing ever works out for me," challenge it with, "I am making steady progress, even if I can't see it yet." These tiny chisels of positivity slowly reshape the statue of your inner world. Ask yourself this: what kind of reality are you sculpting with your daily thoughts? Are you carving a figure of strength and wisdom, or are you unconsciously creating a monument to your fears? The power is in your hands. You are both the sculptor and the sculpture. The choice is yours. Will you create a masterpiece of peace or a statue of suffering? 2. Mindfulness, the guardian of the present moment. Your mind is like a vast garden. Each day, countless seeds of thought drift through it, some bearing flowers of peace, others carrying the thorns of fear. Without mindfulness, this garden is left unattended, overgrown with weeds of worry and regret. But when you practice mindfulness, you become the gatekeeper, the watchful guardian of the present moment. You decide which seeds to water and which to let wither. This is the essence of Buddhist wisdom. Your suffering doesn't come from your thoughts. It comes from your attachment to them. Imagine standing at the entrance of a grand temple. You are the gatekeeper. Visitors approach, some are kind and gentle, while others are destructive. Without mindfulness, you let them all in. Soon, the temple becomes chaotic, filled with noise and conflict. But when you are mindful, you observe each visitor carefully. You greet the peaceful ones with a bow and allow them through. When the destructive ones arrive, the negative thoughts, the self-doubt, you simply acknowledge their presence, but do not invite them in. This is what mindfulness teaches: to observe thoughts without identifying with them. Buddha once said, "Do not dwell in the past, do not dream of the future, concentrate the mind on the present moment." Yet, how often does your mind wander into the fog of yesterday's regrets or tomorrow's anxieties? You replay old conversations, criticize your past decisions, or fret over imaginary futures. But the present is the only place where you have power, the only place where life truly happens. Without mindfulness, you become a prisoner of time, shackled by memories and anticipations. With mindfulness, you are free. The power of mindfulness lies in its simplicity. When a negative thought arises, you don't fight it. You simply observe it. You say to yourself, here is fear, here is anger. By labeling the thought, you create distance. It is no longer your fear. It is merely a passing visitor at the gate. With practice, you'll begin to see that thoughts are like clouds drifting across the sky. They come and go, but the sky itself, your awareness, remains untouched. To cultivate this awareness, start with conscious breathing. When negativity clouds your mind, pause. Take a slow, deliberate breath in and out. This simple act grounds you in the present moment. Then, observe your thoughts with detachment. When you catch your mind spiraling into self-criticism or worry, imagine yourself as the gatekeeper. See the thought approaching, recognize it, and let it pass without judgment. You will notice that most negative thoughts lose their power when you stop clinging to them. Now, ask yourself, how often are you missing the beauty of the present because your mind is wandering? You may be walking in a garden, but lost in thoughts of tomorrow's troubles. You may be sitting with a loved one, but dwelling on yesterday's mistakes. Don't let the present moment slip through your fingers. It is the only thing that is real. With mindfulness as your guardian, you can transform your mind from a battlefield into a sanctuary, a peaceful garden where serenity blooms. 3. Karma and mental conditioning. Your mind is a garden. and every thought you entertain is a seed. With each passing day, you are either planting flowers of peace or weeds of suffering. In Buddhism, this is the essence of karma, not some mystical force, but the simple law of cause and effect. Negative thoughts, when repeated, create patterns of anxiety, self-doubt, and anger. Positive thoughts, when cultivated, blossom into patience, compassion, and clarity. The garden of your mind will either nourish or poison your spirit, depending on the seeds you choose to sow. Imagine walking through a garden that has been neglected. The soil is dry, weeds choke the plants, and thorns press against your skin. This is what happens to the mind when you allow negative thinking to run wild. The weeds of resentment and fear take root, draining the soil of joy. But when you mindfully tend to this garden, you clear the overgrowth. You pull out the weeds of bitterness by practicing forgiveness. You remove the thorns of self-criticism with self-compassion. Gradually, the flowers of peace and wisdom begin to bloom. This is the transformative power of mindful mental conditioning. Buddha once said, "What you frequently think and ponder upon will become the inclination of your mind." If you constantly dwell on resentment, your mind will bend toward anger. If you repeatedly entertain self-pity, you will begin to see yourself as a victim. Your mind becomes what it repeatedly consumes. But this also works in your favor. When you consciously nurture thoughts of patience, you become more patient. When you practice thoughts of kindness, compassion becomes your second nature. The karma of your thoughts shapes the landscape of your inner world. So how do you cultivate a thriving mind garden? First, become aware of the seeds you are planting. Pay attention to the mental habits you are watering. When you catch yourself replaying an old grievance, pause and ask, "Am I sowing weeds or flowers?" If the answer is weeds, let it go. Replace it with a positive counter-thought. For example, if your mind says, "I will never be good enough," replace it with, "I am growing with each experience." With practice, you will notice the soil of your mind becoming more fertile for joy and less welcoming to suffering. Secondly, pull out mental weeds regularly. In the same way a gardener prunes unwanted growth, you must regularly uproot harmful thought patterns. When you notice recurring thoughts of self-doubt or envy, visualize yourself pulling them out by the roots. See them losing their grip on your mind's soil. This mental exercise weakens their influence, making space for healthier thoughts to flourish. Now, ask yourself, if your mind were a garden, what would it look like today? Would it be lush with compassion and gratitude, or tangled with resentment and worry? Remember, the mind doesn't cultivate itself. It reflects the care you give it. Tend to it daily. Remove the weeds, water the flowers, and watch as your inner garden becomes a sanctuary of peace and resilience. 4. Self-compassion versus self-criticism. You speak to yourself more than anyone else. But how often is that voice harsh rather than kind? When you fail, it says, "You'll never be good enough." When you struggle, it whispers, "You're weak." Without realizing it, you become your own tormentor. In Buddhism, this self-criticism is seen as a form of self-inflicted suffering, a relentless mental blade that cuts deeper with every harsh word. But here's the truth. Self-criticism does not make you stronger, it makes you smaller. Only self-compassion has the power to heal and expand you. Imagine your mind as a wounded traveler. It stumbles through the storms of failure, rejection, and regret. When you respond with self-criticism, you become the storm itself, lashing the traveler with insults and blame. But when you respond with compassion, you become the healer, the one who offers shelter and warmth. You cannot berate yourself into becoming better. You can only love yourself into growth. This is the profound wisdom of Buddhism. You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection. Yet, many people mistake self-compassion for weakness. They believe that being hard on themselves makes them more disciplined or resilient. But this is an illusion. Criticism is like pouring salt on a wound. It stings, it festers, but it does not heal. Compassion, on the other hand, is like applying a balm. It soothes the wound, allowing it to close. Studies even show that people who practice self-compassion are more motivated and resilient than those who rely on self-criticism. Why? Because they build themselves up rather than tear themselves down. So, how do you break free from the cycle of self-criticism? First, practice self-talk with compassion. The next time you make a mistake, pause and ask yourself, if a friend made this mistake, how would I speak to them? You would not call them a failure. You would say, it's okay. You're learning. Now, offer that same kindness to yourself. Say, I am human. I am growing. With time, this voice of compassion will soften the sharp edges of your inner critic. Secondly, forgive yourself more easily. Many people carry the weight of self-blame for years, but Buddhism teaches that clinging to self-judgment is like holding a hot coal. You are the one who gets burned. When you make a mistake, learn the lesson, then let go of the blame. Forgiving yourself doesn't mean you are excusing your actions. It means you are freeing yourself from unnecessary suffering. The past cannot be changed, but the way you speak to yourself can. Now, ask yourself, what would change if I forgave myself more easily? Would you move through life with more grace? Would you take bolder risks, knowing that failure wouldn't shatter your self-worth? You are not meant to be your own enemy. You are meant to be your own refuge. Let compassion be your balm. Let forgiveness be your freedom. You will find that the kinder you are to yourself, the stronger you become. 5. Impermanence. The antidote to attachment. Your suffering often comes from one illusion, the belief that what you feel right now is permanent. When sadness strikes, you convince yourself it will never leave. When fear grips you, it feels as if it will hold you forever. But in Buddhism, there is a profound truth that liberates the mind. Everything is impermanent. Just as no wave clings to the ocean, no emotion, no thought, no pain ever stays. The moment you embrace this truth, you loosen the grip of negativity. You realize that your pain is not a prison, it is a passing visitor. Imagine holding an hourglass in your hand. With each second, grains of sand fall steadily to the bottom. Some grains represent joy, others sorrow. Some are moments of clarity, others of confusion. But none of the grains stay suspended. Each one falls and the next takes its place. This is the nature of your mind. When you feel overwhelmed by negativity, it's easy to believe that the hourglass has frozen. You think the sadness will linger forever, but it never does. Just as no grain of sand stays in place, no thought, no feeling, no experience is eternal. Buddha once said, just as a storm passes, so too will your darkest thoughts. But the problem is, when you're in the middle of the storm, you forget it is temporary. You clutch the rain as if it will always fall. You hold on to painful memories, replaying them repeatedly, mistaking them for the present. But the storm was never meant to stay. It was meant to pass. Your negative thoughts are no different. The moment you recognize their impermanence, their power over you begins to dissolve. You no longer react to them with fear or resistance. You watch them with calm detachment, knowing they are fleeting. To apply this wisdom, Start by observing your thoughts as passing clouds. When you feel anxious, remind yourself, this is just a cloud moving across the sky. It will pass. When self-doubt creeps in, say, this is not who I am. It is only a visitor. By labeling your emotions as temporary, you stop identifying with them. You see them for what they are, impermanent ripples, not permanent truths. With practice, you will begin to meet negativity with patience, not panic. Secondly, practice letting go intentionally. When you feel yourself clinging to a regret or dwelling on a painful memory, visualize the hourglass. See the grain of sorrow slipping through your fingers. Let it fall. You cannot hold on to a grain of sand any more than you can hold on to a passing thought. The more you practice this mental release, the lighter your heart becomes. Now, ask yourself, what pain are you holding on to, believing it will never leave? Is it a failure that still haunts you? A heartbreak that still stings? Imagine placing it in the hourglass, watching it fall, grain by grain, into the past. Let it go, because just as no wave lingers in the ocean, no sorrow remains forever. The beauty of impermanence is this: what troubles you today will be nothing more than a memory tomorrow. 6. Compassion as a shield against negativity. When your mind is filled with negativity, resentment, anger, or judgment, it is easy to believe that the only solution is to fight it. You may try to suppress it or silence it through sheer willpower. But in Buddhism, the path to dissolving negativity is not through resistance, it is through compassion. Like an unbreakable shield, compassion softens the sharp edges of the mind, disarming negativity at its core. The surprising truth is this: when you direct compassion outward, it returns inward, healing you in the process. Imagine walking through a field of thorns. With each step, you feel the sharpness cutting into your feet. You could curse the thorns, blame the path, and grow angry. Or you could cover your feet with sandals, protecting yourself from the pain. Compassion is the sandal. It does not remove the thorns of life, but it protects your heart from being pierced by them. When you cultivate genuine compassion for others, you no longer judge their mistakes with cruelty or hold on to resentment. And gradually, your inner critic also loses its power, because the kindness you offer to others strengthens the kindness you show yourself. Buddha once said, "Hatred does not cease by hatred, but only by love." Yet, how often do you battle your own negative thoughts with more negativity? You get angry at yourself for being anxious. You criticize yourself for being afraid. But harshness only breeds more harshness. When you meet your inner suffering with compassion, gently and patiently, you break the cycle. The same is true for how you view others. When you offer understanding instead of judgment, you create space for forgiveness, empathy, and peace. You let go of the need to be right, and instead, you embrace the freedom to be kind. So, how do you wield this shield of compassion? First, practice compassionate awareness. The next time someone offends or disappoints you, pause. Instead of reacting with anger, ask yourself, what pain are they carrying? When someone is rude, recognize that it may be because they are hurting. When someone is cold, consider that they may be shielding their own wounds. By seeing their suffering, you weaken your own harshness. And in doing so, you also soften the way you view yourself. Secondly, practice self-forgiveness through outward compassion. When you feel weighed down by your own mistakes, perform a compassionate act for someone else. Help a stranger, call a friend, or simply offer a genuine smile. This outward expression of kindness will reflect inward. It will remind you that you too are worthy of patience and grace. Now, ask yourself, who could you forgive today including yourself. Is there someone whose flaws you have clung to, only deepening your own bitterness? Or perhaps there is a part of yourself you have been punishing for too long. Imagine offering them, or yourself, the sandal of compassion, the shield that softens the thorns of judgment. Because in the end, the compassion you give is the compassion you live. Let it be your protection. Let it be your freedom. 7. Non-attachment, observing without absorbing. Not every thought that enters your mind deserves your belief. Yet, how often do you mistake a fleeting worry for an undeniable truth? A self-doubt appears, and suddenly you believe you are not good enough. A fear arises, and you assume danger is near. But in Buddhism, there is a teaching that frees the mind from this trap. You are not your thoughts. They are merely passing clouds in the vast sky of your awareness. Some are dark and heavy, others light and fleeting, but none of them define the sky itself. The moment you realize this, you stop absorbing negativity. You simply observe it, letting it drift away like the clouds it truly is. Imagine sitting on a quiet hilltop, gazing at the open sky. Clouds roll by, shifting shape, appearing and disappearing. Would you ever chase a cloud, trying to hold onto it? Would you fear a storm cloud, believing it will block the sky forever? Of course not, because you know the sky remains untouched, no matter what passes through it. This is your mind. Your awareness is the sky, vast and unshaken. But the mistake we make is identifying with the clouds, believing every passing thought is reality. A moment of sadness does not mean you are a sad person. A moment of doubt does not mean you are a failure. But the more you cling to these thoughts, the more they feel real. The secret to inner peace is learning to observe without absorbing. Buddha once said, "Do not dwell in the past, do not dream of the future, concentrate the mind on the present moment." But what does this mean? It means to see thoughts for what they truly are, temporary appearances, not permanent truths. When a negative thought arises, instead of reacting with fear or frustration, simply acknowledge it. Say to yourself, "Ah, there you are, just another passing cloud." Watch it. Do not fight it. Do not attach to it. Let it pass. The moment you observe a thought without attaching to it, its power weakens. It no longer controls you. So how do you practice this? First, create mental space through awareness. The next time you catch yourself spiraling into negative thinking, pause. Instead of saying, "I am anxious," try saying, "I am noticing anxiety." Instead of, "I am a failure," say, "I am experiencing a thought of failure." This subtle shift reminds you, you are not your thoughts, you are the observer of them. Like the sky watching the clouds, your true nature remains vast, untouched, and unshaken. Second, practice letting thoughts drift. Close your eyes and visualize your negative thoughts as clouds passing through the sky. Instead of chasing or resisting them, let them float by. With each breath, imagine them dissolving into the vastness of the sky until they no longer hold weight. This is the power of non-attachment. It is not ignoring your thoughts, it is understanding they are impermanent. Now, ask yourself, what is one negative thought I have clung to, believing it was true? Can you see it for what it is? Just another cloud passing through. Because the sky does not fear the storm. It simply waits, knowing that no cloud stays forever. Let your mind be that sky, vast, peaceful, and free. 8. Gratefulness, the antidote to negativity. Negativity thrives in the shadows of forgetfulness, the moments when you forget what is still good, what is still beautiful, and what is still yours. It convinces you that your struggles define your entire existence. making you blind to the light that still surrounds you. But in Buddhism, there is a powerful practice that cuts through this fog of darkness: gratitude. It is not mere optimism. It is a deliberate shift in perspective. Like a lighthouse piercing through a storm, gratitude redirects your gaze from what is missing to what is present. It does not erase pain, but it reminds you that suffering is never the whole story. Imagine sailing through a dense, disorienting fog. You cannot see beyond it. Everything appears bleak and uncertain. But in the distance, a lighthouse stands tall, its beam cutting through the mist, offering you direction. This is what gratitude does to the mind. When you feel lost in negativity, gratitude illuminates what is still stable, still precious, and still worthy of appreciation. It becomes the guiding light that prevents you from drifting further into the storm. Buddha once said, "Let us rise up and be thankful, for if we didn't learn a lot today, at least we learned a little." This teaching reveals a profound truth. Gratitude is not about denying pain, it is about balancing your perspective. When hardship comes, your mind narrows its focus, fixating only on what is wrong. But gratitude expands your vision. It helps you see the entire landscape, not just the storm clouds, but also the patches of light breaking through. It is not pretending everything is perfect. It is remembering that even in imperfection, there is beauty. So how do you cultivate this inner lighthouse? First, practice daily gratitude reflection. Every morning or evening, write down 3 things you are grateful for. They do not have to be grand or extraordinary. In fact, the simplest joys are often the most powerful: a warm meal, a friend's kindness, or the comfort of your bed. By consciously identifying what is good, you weaken the grip of negativity. Over time, your mind naturally becomes more attuned to noticing beauty, even in the midst of hardship. Second, transform comparison into appreciation. Negativity often grows when you compare your life to others, magnifying what you lack. The next time you feel envious of someone's success or happiness, pause. Instead of comparing, appreciate. If someone has love, celebrate that love exists in the world. If someone has peace, rejoice that peace is possible. By shifting from comparison to appreciation, you free yourself from bitterness and rediscover joy. Now ask yourself, what are 3 things you are grateful for today? Not in the future, not once you achieve your goals, but right now. Is it the ability to breathe, the sun rising this morning, the people who still care for you? Let these thoughts be your lighthouse, piercing through any mental fog. Because even when life feels heavy, gratitude reminds you that you are still standing, still breathing, and still capable of seeing the light. Let that light guide you. Let it free you. 9. Rejoicing in others' happiness. When someone else succeeds, when they find love, achieve their dreams, or experience joy, what is your first reaction? Do you feel genuine happiness for them, or does a subtle tinge of jealousy creep in? It is a natural human tendency to compare, to feel as though someone else's gain diminishes your worth. But in Buddhism, there is a liberating practice that dissolves this form of suffering, rejoicing in the happiness of others. It is the art of celebrating success that is not your own, and in doing so, multiplying your own joy. The truth is this: happiness is not scarce. Lighting another's candle does not dim yours, it amplifies the light. Imagine walking into a dark room, carrying a small candle. You approach a friend, holding an unlit wick, and you use your flame to light theirs. Their candle glows, but your own flame remains just as bright. Now, there are 2 sources of light, 2 beacons cutting through the darkness. This is the power of rejoicing in others' happiness. When you celebrate their light, you create more light in the world, not less. But when you fall into envy, you do the opposite. You diminish your own flame with unnecessary sorrow, shrinking your inner light. Buddha once said, "Do not be jealous of others' good qualities, but out of admiration, adopt them yourself." This reveals a profound truth. Others' success is not a threat. It is an invitation. When you witness someone's joy, let it be a reminder of what is possible, not what is lacking in you. If someone finds love, celebrate the presence of love in the world. If someone achieves their dream, let it inspire you to pursue yours with greater faith. By rejoicing, you are not giving away your happiness. You are expanding it. So, how do you practice this? First, shift from comparison to celebration. The next time you feel envious of someone's happiness, pause and breathe. Notice the subtle discomfort of comparison, the tightness in your chest, the bitterness in your thoughts. Then, consciously choose joy. Silently say to yourself, "I am happy for them. May their joy expand." This is not merely a kind thought. It is a spiritual practice that strengthens your capacity for genuine love and connection. Second, practice verbal celebration. When a friend shares their success, respond with genuine enthusiasm. Say, "I am so happy for you. That is amazing." Let your words and energy reflect sincere happiness. Do not shrink into resentment. Do not downplay their achievement. By verbally amplifying their joy, you also expand your own. Over time, this practice becomes natural. You begin to see others' happiness as a mirror of your own potential, not as a reflection of your lack. Now ask yourself, how do I react when someone else succeeds, envy or joy? If envy has weighed you down in the past, choose differently today. Celebrate others. Light their candle with yours. Because happiness is infinite. When you share it, it only multiplies. Let your heart become the flame that keeps spreading. Let it become brighter, warmer, and freer with every joyful spark. 10. Transforming negative thoughts with Tonglen practice. When you feel overwhelmed by your own suffering, when negativity clings to your mind like a heavy fog, what if you could transform it? What if, instead of resisting it, you could breathe it in, hold it tenderly, and then release it as compassion? In Tibetan Buddhism, there is a profound practice called Tonglen, the practice of sending and receiving. It teaches you to breathe in the suffering of others and breathe out love, healing, and compassion. It may sound counterintuitive. Why would you invite suffering into your heart? But this practice holds a secret. When you willingly embrace the pain of others, your own suffering begins to lose its grip. Like an alchemist turning lead into gold, you transform your inner negativity into boundless compassion. Imagine an alchemist in a dimly lit chamber. Before him lies a pile of heavy, dull lead. It symbolizes sorrow, pain, and negativity. But with skill and care, he begins the process of transmutation. He refines the raw, heavy metal into pure, radiant gold. This is the essence of Tonglen. When you breathe in suffering, not with resistance but with love, you turn the weight of pain into the radiance of empathy. You no longer run from discomfort. Instead, you transform it into the light of compassion. Buddha taught, just as a mother would protect her only child with her life, cultivate a boundless heart toward all beings. This is the spirit of Tonglen, to become a compassionate vessel for the suffering of others, dissolving self-centeredness in the process. When you practice Tonglen, you break free from the illusion of separation. You realize that your pain is not yours alone. It is part of the shared human experience. By opening your heart to the suffering of others, You dissolve the boundaries of self and cultivate limitless love. So, how do you practice this emotional alchemy? First, find stillness. Close your eyes and breathe deeply. As you inhale, imagine breathing in the suffering of another, a loved one, a stranger, or even all beings. Feel their pain as if it were your own. Let it touch your heart without fear. Then, as you exhale, breathe out peace, healing, and compassion. Visualize your breath carrying warmth and light, soothing their suffering. With each cycle, the grip of your own negativity loosens as your heart becomes softer, more expansive. Second, extend Tonglen to yourself. When your own thoughts become dark, breathe in your self-judgment, your sorrow, your fear. Hold it gently for a moment, then breathe out forgiveness and self-love. Let each exhale be an offering of kindness to yourself. Over time, your mind becomes lighter, your heart becomes freer, and your capacity for empathy deepens. Now, ask yourself, can I embrace the pain of others and release it as compassion? Let this practice be your emotional alchemy, the process through which you transform suffering into love, both for yourself and for the world. Because when you open your heart to carry the burdens of others, you will find your own heart becoming boundless, vast, and radiant. Let your breath be the gold that brightens the darkness. Let it be your offering of love. Bonus lesson: the power of right thought. Every day, you fire countless arrows from the bow of your mind. Some are tipped with compassion, piercing through fear and bringing warmth to the world. Others are dipped in negativity, wounding your own peace. The question is, are you aiming with wisdom, or are you firing blindly? In Buddhism, the practice of right thought is part of the Noble Eightfold Path, the Buddha's guide to liberation. It teaches that your thoughts are not random, they are purposeful arrows. And with mindful aim, they can become instruments of healing rather than harm. Imagine standing in an open field, bow in hand. The target before you represents your life, your relationships, your goals, your inner peace. With each thought, you draw back the string and release an arrow. When your aim is steady, with thoughts of compassion, kindness, and wisdom, the arrow flies true, striking the heart of clarity. But when your mind is clouded by negativity, the arrow misses the mark, wounding your own spirit. The more unaware you are of your aim, the more damage you do to yourself and others. Buddha once said, "We are shaped by our thoughts. We become what we think." This reveals the power of right thought, to transform reactive, scattered thinking into deliberate, conscious contemplation. When your thoughts are filled with greed, hatred, or delusion, you unknowingly aim arrows into your own heart. But when you cultivate thoughts of generosity, love, and clarity, you strengthen the mind as a force for liberation. The archer within you becomes a master of mindful precision. So how do you practice right thought in your daily life? First, become aware of the arrows you are firing. The next time you feel anger rising, pause. Do not immediately release the arrow. Instead, step back and ask yourself, what is the intention behind this thought? Is it guided by wisdom or reaction? Is it aimed at growth or destruction? By observing your thoughts before acting on them, you cultivate the skill of mindful aim. Second, consciously replace harmful arrows with compassionate ones. When you catch yourself in self-criticism, aim a different arrow, one of self-kindness. When you feel judgment toward others, redirect your aim toward empathy. This does not mean suppressing negative thoughts. It means consciously transforming them. With practice, the habit of compassion will take root, and your mind will naturally align with right thought. Now ask yourself, am I the archer or the target of my thoughts? When you master the bow of your mind, you stop being a victim of its stray arrows. You become the mindful archer, shaping your mental landscape with clarity and care. Each thought becomes a conscious act, a purposeful release. And with every arrow of compassion, kindness, and wisdom, you not only strike the heart of peace, you become it. So, take aim with love. Let your thoughts fly with purpose, and watch as they carve a path of freedom through your mind. Quick summary of the 10 lessons. Thoughts as architects of reality. Buddhism teaches that our thoughts actively shape our experience of the world. When we consciously choose thoughts rooted in kindness and wisdom, we transform our perception and reduce suffering. Mindfulness, the guardian of the present moment. Mindfulness is the practice of observing thoughts without attachment, allowing us to see them clearly without being overwhelmed. This awareness disrupts cycles of negative thinking and cultivates inner peace. Karma and mental conditioning. Our habitual thoughts, whether positive or negative, plant seeds in our consciousness that shape our behaviors and attitudes. Training the mind to focus on gratitude and compassion changes the outcomes of our inner world. Self-compassion versus self-criticism. Being gentle with ourselves helps heal negative self-talk and nurtures emotional resilience. Self-compassion is not self-indulgence. It's the foundation of lasting inner peace. The antidote to attachment. Understanding that all experiences and emotions are temporary reduces attachment to negativity. Accepting impermanence allows us to let go and embrace the present with a lighter heart. Compassion as a shield against negativity. Extending compassion to others and ourselves transforms the way we see suffering. It breaks cycles of harsh judgment and encourages forgiveness, reducing inner negativity. Observing without absorbing. Learning to observe thoughts without identifying with them creates emotional freedom. By recognizing that thoughts are not absolute truths, we stop being prisoners of our own minds. Gratefulness, the antidote to negativity. Practicing gratitude shifts our attention from what is lacking to what we have, helping to rewire the brain to focus on positivity rather than lack. Rejoicing in others' happiness. Finding joy in others' happiness dissolves envy and feelings of inadequacy. It fosters connection, abundance, and a sense of shared humanity. Transforming negative thoughts with Tonglen practice. By breathing in the suffering of others and breathing out compassion, we diminish our own negative patterns while deepening empathy. This ancient practice turns pain into wisdom. Imagine a world where your mind is no longer a battlefield, where instead of resisting negativity, you transform it into understanding and growth. Buddhist philosophy does not promise a life without pain. It offers the wisdom to navigate that pain with grace. The mind can be a relentless critic, or it can be your greatest teacher, shaped by the very thoughts you choose to nurture. As a bee gathers nectar without harming the flower, so should we live our lives. This quote is a reminder that your mind can be a source of harm or healing. The practice of mindfulness, compassion, and non-attachment isn't a denial of difficulties. It's an embrace of life's impermanence, a liberation from the chains of negativity. When we learn to observe our thoughts without judgment, we see them for what they are, temporary, shifting, and often rooted in fear. Compassion becomes not just a practice for others, but a gentle acceptance of ourselves. Impermanence teaches us to cherish each moment, even the challenging ones, knowing that they, too, will pass. The principles shared here are not just insights, they are practices, daily, intentional acts that shape the way we see ourselves and the world. In the end, The greatest realization is this: peace is not the absence of conflict, but the ability to respond to it with wisdom. If any of this resonates with you, like and share this video. Share your perspective in the comments. Let's learn from each other. Subscribe to Deep Wisdom for more transformative Buddhist insights on living a peaceful, awakened life.